Negative comments about other people's bodies matter. Body shaming, whether fat shaming, a nasty comment about hair colour or a body part, can make you ashamed, can stay with you and make you insecure. And in fact, it's not uncommon for cosmetic surgery recipients to trace their unhappiness back to a body shaming comment. How we look is not trivial, it's who we are, it cuts deeply. So these comments are lookism. We should not do it, we should call it out when other people do it. So the Everyday Lookism campaign is modelled on the very successful Everyday Sexism campaign. So in this campaign, people share their experiences of lookism, usually anonymously, and that tells you just how much more shameful it is now than sexism. For obvious reasons, very many people don't want people to know who they are. The stories can be very painful. Some are old, from many, many years ago, and some are very contemporary, from peers, colleagues, friends, parents, children's lovers, and strangers. The aim of the campaign is to show how prevalent lookism is, to state that it's not okay. And it's a very simple thing, but in the virtual world, this can be the solution as well as the problem. It's not very long ago we didn't have words for sexism. It was supposed to be okay or even complimentary to have your bum pinched or to be catcalled. Hey, I was complimenting you. We don't think that's okay anymore. So, I've not to meet anyone who doesn't have a lookism story. I have loads, and I'm going to just finish by sharing some of our stories with you. So these are stories, hundreds of people have uploaded stories to the campaign. So, my mother encouraged and paid for me to go on a shake diet with her because I was fat and no one would ever love me if I was. I was 8 stone 5. Girls like you shouldn't wear crop tops, and we know who she is now, right? There's a lot of this kind of thing, where it's meant as a joke, right? And you laugh, right? This one went viral when we put it up, and partly because it's funny, but it's also uncomfortable, right? You can feel the pain. Hundreds and hundreds of these, versions on this theme, loads and loads and loads of them. My very drunk friend looked at me and said, "You might be fat, but at least you're pretty," as if one should cancel out the other. I think about that a lot. It was over 9 years ago. Another one that's supposed to be funny. Right, and this is very much back to some of the sexism stuff. What are you complaining about? That was a compliment. What are you complaining about? It's a joke. It's not a joke. I'm ginger, and on my first week at secondary school, some older boys followed me around, rubbing their hands together and holding them behind my head. It took me a week to realise they were warming their hands on the fire. It made me feel really self-conscious of my hair. Appearance bullying is the most common form of bullying, but we do very little to address it because it's not a protected characteristic, and we don't quite know what to do, partly because we think it's normal. Right? We don't think anymore that racism or sexism are normal and to be tolerated. That's because we've named them and called them out. All my life I've been told that as a woman I'm too hairy. There's lots of hair in the body in the Everyday Lookism stories. It started when I was in primary school and during PE. A boy shouted, "Ooh, your legs are so hairy." Now I get a lot of negative comments from guys about my moustache. Some telling me you should shave that. It has made me very insecure. I prefer it when girls don't wear as much makeup as you. Why would I find somebody attractive when you can't see their face properly? This is another trope. There's loads and loads of makeup stories. And loads of them are telling you to take your makeup off, because why would you need that? And then there's a whole host of others saying, why don't you make an effort? Why don't you wear makeup? You look so better if you wear makeup. Oh, you look tired without your mascara, and on and on. You can't get it right. This is why we should not be telling people what to do and what not to do. We need to shift the conversation. She's way too flat-chested to wear that bikini. Another walking home from school from very, very many years. Over half a lifetime ago, I still remember it. Another one about body hair. Supposed to, again, that's supposed to be an okay thing to say, right? Eating disorders. bane, a rising bane, and not just in the West again. It's an acceptable form of prejudice. Often from people we love, sometimes from strangers, sometimes from mothers and grandmas and husbands feature a lot in the stories. Again, the moral imperative. Make an effort. It's a duty. You're failing. Lack of respect. And it's not just about being too big, it's also about being too skinny. Loads of those too. So that's a social media campaign. We also have stickers. So if anybody owns a bar or an office where they fancy putting up some stickers on the mirrors, they seem to be doing quite well. I've got a few left, not many. Happy to give those out. So, check out the website, upload your Lookism stories, give it to your kids if you're not on the phone all the time. Let's share the campaign personally and virtually, and let's stop body shaming. So every one of these stories is a little drop of the ocean, a little bit of pain. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're heartbreaking, but together they tell a much bigger story about Lookism. In a world where our bodies are ourselves, and I hope I've convinced you that this is a little bit the case, at least for very many people, we need to think differently about beauties, about our bodies, and about ourselves. So I'm going to finish with the last paragraph of Perfect Me. If we carry on regardless, ever more isolated in our quest for the perfect me, the future will be bleak indeed. Yet there are many possible futures. The first step in finding more human ways to live under the beauty ideal and to begin to transform it is to recognise the ideal and the self under the ideal as they actually are. It is a dual ideal, which is potentially destructive and cruel, but is also celebratory and potentially life-enhancing. Most importantly, and this is a distinctive claim of Perfect Me, it is an ethical ideal. Thank you.